not a cartoon. Are you aware that this is not a cartoon? Decide to focus less on the bodies of the women and more on their characters as human beings. Hi loves, welcome back to my channel. Wait, you guys know I've filmed this video. Guess what? I did not press record. It's fine. It's cool. We start again. Hi, welcome back. Welcome to a video, another one where I talk about a drama I have recently watched, have some thoughts that I feel you guys will be interested in knowing, and as a result, I come to share them. So today I will be talking about Queen Wu, which is an 8 episode drama released in 2024, released in two parts. It finished airing one day before yesterday, and it aired on the OTT platform, TV, TV in, and yeah, I guess that's about it. For where to find this drama? It is a faction drama, which is a mixture of fact and fiction, which is what I hear this drama is called. Drama, my arms hot. Oh my god! So in case I'm like doing a lot of movement on my right, that's why they really are hurting. But anyways, what is Queen Wu about? So Queen Wu is a sort of, do I say, reimagination, retelling of the story of Queen Wu, who is an actual historical figure. She was married to the king, Gonamu, and then the king dies, and I'm telling you guys now the actual historical story, and he dies, and then she stays in power by choosing to go through a elaborate marriage where she ends up marrying one of his brothers, right? And so the brother becomes king, and she, sort of remains in power. And this character or this figure in history is described as independent, strong, and just a woman to be noted in history, basically. And so that historical figure is the inspiration for this drama. The drama synopsis, however, focuses on the death of the king, and then the queen in the drama has 24 hours to select a prince and get married to him, in order for the deliberate marriage to like hold. And so the drama focuses on the 24 hours between the death of the king and the new marriage, because there are a couple of princes to choose from. There's a lot of politics to consider, when considering obviously who will be the next king, and question of how the king dies. A lot of things, to consider. That is the summary of this drama. So this drama actually I had no real interest in, to be honest. Like I picked this up kind of on a whim, but not particularly. So obviously, I saw Lee So Hyuk, who I'm a fan of. He was promoting a drama. I was interested, so he was not the main character. Lost interest, and because I just feel like he needs more main character roles. And yeah, it's fun to see him in stuff, but it would be nice to see him in more main roles. So I was not like particularly excited. I was like, oh, whenever I get around to this, I will get around to it. Plus, I haven't really watched new K dramas since I think the last one was King the Land. That was a new K drama that I have watched, honestly. So I haven't really been watching K drama, so I wasn't really interested in it. But then I came across this article that was like, oh, Queen Wu receives backlash and heavy criticism for its explicitness and historical inaccuracies. And so I read that article, and it was just relaying to us the dissatisfaction of mainly K netizens as to how they feel like some of the costumes were more China Asian costumes than Korean Asian costumes, and then how they were very dissatisfied by how explicit the drama was. And this piqued my interest in the drama because I thought that these comments were overreactions, okay, and I wanted to see for myself what would spark this much outrage, because I was just like, it's just some skin, okay, like, and I believe they put a rating, okay, but coming out from watching the 8 episodes of this drama, I would like to just preface this entire review by saying that while I cannot speak for the aspect of the historical inaccuracies in this drama, in terms of the concerns the brought up by the Korean netizens. I can, however, speak to the explicitness, and I really agree with them. I feel like all the explicit scenes in this drama, every single one, was very unnecessary, alludes to a little bit of perverted intention. Like, I obviously cannot sit here and tell you that, oh, the people that created this with perverted intentions, but it just feels, that way to me. And as this video or this discussion, does goes on, I will talk more about it. Well, first, let's talk about the things I liked about this drama, since they are not particularly a lot. So the first thing, obviously, is the cast, which is the actors and actresses. Like, this was just so, I don't know, nostalgic to me in a way. Okay, seeing Lee Soo Hyuk, Ji Chang Wook, Ji Jung. So I just feel like the cast of this drama was really what took up the entire budget for this drama, because when you search this drama, one of the first things you actually see, aside from the outrage article, is the budget for the drama. And I feel like a lot of the budget was used to pay these actors and actresses, also because I feel like truly was like, the best thing about this drama is that these were the faces we had to look at while enduring this mess of a story, in my mind. Okay, I'm sorry if that just comes off too harsh, but I just feel like, this drama really, I take personal offense to this drama. I am taking personal offense to this drama. Yeah, I really liked, seeing those characters, like Jung Yumi, the sister of the queen. I remember being so excited to see her because she was the main character I made. And you know how when people are talking about like their first ever K dramas and stuff, and obviously we have the whole Jimong man called God stuff, and those were parts of my first K dramas. But Maids is one I don't really see people talk about, and she was the main character in that. And I kind of just loved it. Okay, I really, really just loved to see her face on screen, even though she was a really annoying character in this drama. And the other thing I think I liked about the drama was that it kind of reminded me just a tiny little bit of Jumong. Okay, so firstly, why basically when they were at war, the king was at war and stuff, and then there were these shamans. I feel like this is the first historical drama I have seen after Jumong that focuses heavily on, like, the chief priests, the shamans, the people that kind of interact with the deities in Korean historical drama. Like, it was a huge thing in like Jumong, and so seeing that was like really kind of nice. And then we had this whole opening scene where the queen goes to this weapon forger, or like this blacksmith, I guess, to fix up this sword for her. And if you watch Jumong, there are a lot of scenes. Like, I think the weapons man, like the blacksmith, was one of the main characters in Jumong. So like, just those things kind of just really felt like very, it felt like they had these similarities, and so it kind of felt good in that way. It reminded me of such an iconic classic, thing. Also, that they were set in the same like Goguryeo, because I think in Jumong we have the Goryeo first. Then I'm laughing because I know I'm butchering that pronunciation. And then they formed sorry, they have the Goguryeo first, then they formed the Goryeo, right? If I'm not mistaken. So Anyways, that's about it for what I liked about this drama. So moving on real quick to my criticism, or basically just my thoughts on this drama. So firstly, very obviously, the topic that is pressing a lot of people's necks about this drama, which is the explicitness. Okay, because I particularly, like I said in the beginning, I can't really speak to the historical inaccuracies. Honestly, the explicit scenes in this drama felt very unnecessary. Felt like they were only there for shock value, and also just with a really perverted in what's it called, intention in my mind. So first of all, thinking about the shock value, obviously it has gotten everybody talking. There's a whole debate that, oh, it was listed 18 plus for like sex and violence, but if you compare the two things, like the violence is not as explicit as the nude scenes and the sex scenes and whatever in this drama. So in that way, it just feels like, why? What was the reason? When I mean these scenes added absolutely nothing to this drama. And then why I talk about how this kind of feels like it came with an intention that is not particularly pure. Did not clock this by myself. So when I had finished watching the first half, which was I think 2 days before the second half release, I came across this blog post review for the first half. If I can still find it, I'll try and link it in my description. But it talked about how in the first half, every female character that was introduced in this drama, with the exception of the queen herself and one of her bodyguards, was introduced to us in a sexual manner. And in when you think about it that way, it feels very sort of, targeted. And, in addition to the fact that it just does not add anything, there was also this kind of telling, I saw some people kind of mad at the way they decided to represent the fourth prince, which is the prince she chooses for the marriage. And in the drama, the fourth prince is introduced to us as this character who likes to particularly stare at women's bodies. And obviously, given how the drama has gone, we are going to see parts of this women's bodies that we really have no business seeing, if we are being very honest with ourselves. And like the way it was shown, like obviously we are going to see all those things, but he's introduced to us as this man that has this um crush on the queen, and mainly not particularly a crush on her, but just likes her body. Maybe he got a pic of it once. Like, I have no idea why they thought this was a good idea, because first of all, how did he ever know what? Because the scene he's introduced in is looking at this woman's body from the back, and obviously they are very shown us everything. But like, he's looking at her from back, then she turns her face and it's not the queen, and he's like, oh, it's not the queen, it's not the queen. So like the body is kind of similar and stuff. So how did he in the first place know what the queen's body looks like? Anyway, the queen comes in and she kind of teases him, like to kind of entice him into the marriage, and he gets like a cut on his arm, on his finger here, where he's flustered, and she particularly sucks on this spot, which is like fine and like okay. But then tell me why there was the need to show her sucking a particular spot that was injured, and then she has to take out his entire finger, put it into her mouth, suck on it very suggestively, like look at him, and then cuts a scrap from like her chest area of her dress and ties it on his hand. But when I went to see like the actual story, it turns out that this prince was particularly stated to be polite and courteous, if that's how that is pronounced, and that he got injured. And as they are going to the palace, like he got injured in the process, and she takes her skirt scrap, not her chest area scrap, and ties it on his hand. And it just makes you think, like, what was the reason to take that in? Take what actually happened, or what we are actually told happened in history, and represent it the way it was represented in this drama. Like, why? And another thing I kind of want to say is that yes, they gave us a warning for the explicitness, and we can argue as to artistic expression, we can argue as to, we have already been warned and whatnot. However, I just kind of want to mention that in addition to the fact that none of these scenes had anything to do with the story. Like you could cut out all these scenes and you would not miss a thing. It will not take away from knowing who these characters are. It will not, add anything to the characters, add anything to the story whatsoever. It was as unnecessary as what is something that is unnecessary? As unnecessary as all those things people buy to put on their Stanley cups so they can put food around their Stanley cups. It was as unnecessary, even more unnecessary at that, because at least that has some use. This has no use whatsoever. My problem with that is that people can, do whatever they want. We are all adults here, yeah, whatever. But like, what was the point to be as explicit as? Because I feel like a lot of these scenes would have not lost their explicitness, their suggestiveness, would have still required warning if the women were covered up a bit more. And I mean this with all my heart. I'm just like in the beginning, when the shaman was doing her whole divination, she had her entire, like one entire boob out. It's just, I'm like, she could have been given a what's it called, a transparent black robe, and then obviously it could have been shown more suggestively. There was no need for all that when those the king was getting treatment for his wound with like ice, and we had those girls. They could have been covered up a bit more, and I mean this honestly. And because of the way they decided to go about this quote unquote explicit scenes, it just had me feeling like, I don't know, maybe we should have had a female director, maybe we should have had a female writer, because the director is a man, the scriptwriter is a man. And usually I'm not one to be like, if you've not experienced something, then you can't tell a story about that experience. I'm like, as far as you have done your due research within ethical ground, if it's a story you are compelled to tell, then feel free to do so. But with this one, it was the first time I was thinking to myself, maybe only men should not be in charge of producing a story about a woman. Okay, like I just felt that way for the first time seeing this drama, because I'm like, yeah, argue all you want about the necessity or the non-necessity or the art or whatever, that was this explicit scenes. You could still have had this explicit scenes, you know while still, I don't know, do I say preserving the dignity of the actresses involved. And mainly also, another thing that just kind of feels like a lot of perverted this thing, intention, because what did we not see of these women, except, what did we not see of these women? And it was only the women. Okay, the men never even showed their chicks once. And not that I'm out here like, oh, I want to see it, but like, notice how it was only the women. Okay, so I actually will take personal offense with that, and I don't think that we should just see stuff like that and just like, let it go and just excuse it with all sort of silly excuses that I'm seeing on the internet. That's like, oh, it was rated 18. What was the need for it to be rated 18? Like, if in the story, one of the characters was described as having insatiable lust, or something like that, and then that was expressed in this drama through those explicit scenes, it would make sense. But truly, there was no need for it in this drama, and could have been done better if the producers or the creators felt like it was important to them to have those scenes. So that is my piece on the um explicit scenes in this drama, right? Moving on, I just felt a bit insulted with particular scenes in this drama. So first one I will talk about quickly. We have this the queen. She's being hunted down on this her mission to find the prince or whatever, get to the prince before 24 hours and whatever it's over. And she creates this diversion group, and I will just I'll put screenshots for like visual reference for you guys. um I know they are really like low quality, but bear with them. And she creates this diversion group, and these hunters fall for this diversion group, and they chase this diversion group down, and they are shooting at them with arrows. Every single person is on horseback, but the hunters, the people that are running away, they're on horseback, and they shoot them down with arrows. And somehow they are very accurate given the distance between them, and they're like shooting them all down. And yeah, they shoot every one of them down, and every one of them, is. And then these hunters realize that they've been tricked. They run after the actual queen, and they have a much shorter distance between them, but somehow not a single arrow manages to hit any single person in the entire entourage of the queen. And it felt so insulting to watch. I was like, what is the logic behind this? That you had it, like, is it because, oh, this is the main character kind of thing? Like, it just felt really insulting. There was a particular time where the queen, her sister, and her bodyguard, they were in a forest, and this group of hunters, they're called the white tigers, they were like 30 of them, and then there were like three of these women. And the way they decide to capture these women, instead of encircling the forest, which is like common logic because they are more in number, like encircling the place where they were hiding, because obviously they knew where they were hiding, because at some point they, involved themselves in this like back and forth arrow shooting, whatever. These people did not do that. They just stood where they were at the back there. It's like, oh my god, you guys, picture this. You are chasing somebody down. This person is hiding behind a tree, and instead of you to just go and surround that tree and capture this person, you are standing in two trees behind the person, and then the person will turn and shoot you. You stay there and shoot with all your numbers. And then somehow, even more insulting to the intelligence, somehow none of the arrows ever hit any particular target out of like the queen, her sister. And like at some point the queen's sister even runs away. Nobody thinks to like track down that footstep and whatever. Like she just, runs and skimpers away and whatever. And then every time the queen or her bodyguard turns to shoot somebody, of course they shoot somebody down. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this is not a cartoon. Are you aware that this is not a cartoon? Let's also talk about how dark it was. So the first half of this drama I described as a mess, because they were just introducing a lot of different things, wasting a lot of time on unnecessary scenes. And I was just like, maybe this is really messy, but it's also exciting because I'm kind of curious to how all this is going to play out. The second half of this drama I described as a snooze fest, because that is where, they have taken time to kind of set up characters, but they're not really setting up any character. They're not really showing us anything about these characters. They are, if we're being very honest with ourselves, employing the tell not show about these characters. Somebody will tell you that, oh, the third prince is like cruel, and then obviously we get to see him like, being cruel and killing people. And then they will be like, oh, the king was wise and virtuous, and then we see him making one decision for the good of the people, and they feel like, yeah, they've done a thing, I guess. So really lazy character setup in that manner. And the second half was just a snooze fest, because now the second half we have gotten into things. Everybody's taking action, all factions, all tribes, they are making their plans, sending out secret messages. The queen is on the run, they are fighting, stuff like that. It sounds really interesting when I'm saying it, but it was really boring watching it. The action scenes, I really could not see anything happening. So the adrenaline from it lost, because there was this time where I think the white tigers, the queen and her entourage, and then this particular cult of like crazy people were involved in this like, scuffle and whatever. I could not, when I tell you, I could not see a single thing happening. I could not even see any single person's face. I had no idea who was getting beaten, who was not getting beaten. And like, I get it was the nighttime, but like, is it really the nighttime? Like, we're watching a film, for goodness sake. We have to be able to see. And I was watching this in a dark room at night with my highest brightness, and I could not see a thing. Okay, so none of the adrenaline from that. And then the little scenes where we could see little things just felt really insulting, where it's like the main character never gets injured, like this is some sort of silly fantasy world that you're trying to create for us and stuff like that. So yeah, just really crazy. The politics very boring. Every single time we had, because what was happening, how they decided to execute this drama is that, on the journey, the queen would make one decision or the other in terms of like where they are going, how they are going, and stuff like that. And yeah, they would now do some sort of flashback to show her discussing some military tactic with the prime minister, or discussing some military tactic with the king. And it was just all very boring because it was very non-subtle. Everything was in your face. It felt like the production team doubted our intelligence a lot. It felt like they felt like, if they tried to make things, a bit more, like do something clever with the conversation, make it feel like, oh, so that when people actually discover it kind of makes sense, like make politics interesting. They didn't do any of that. So it was truly boring. The second half of this drama, I'll be very honest with you. And if you're somebody that's still watching the second half of this drama and decided to skip, I understand you. You are very justified in your actions. If not that I was coming to make this video, honestly, I would have not finished the second half of this drama. But I just felt like, since I want to come and talk about it and then express, my dissatisfaction, I would be better off being well informed by seeing things through to the end. But if you do not have a special reason, like me to like sit through it, then I'm very, very justified. I saw a lot of comments where people did say that they dropped it because, and this not to say I've not seen comments of people expressing their awe for this drama, their admiration for this drama, their enjoyment of this drama. But and then the last thing I will just really talk about with this, this applies to every character, but since the drama mainly focuses on Queen Wu, is that I talked about this a bit before, but like they never set up any character properly, especially the queen, who even was the main character. I feel like if they made the queen like really, a character, and not just something on paper like, oh, she's strong and independent, and so she does strong and independent things, but it kind of really does not make sense how she's doing any of that, why she's doing any of that. Like the how and why of the character are just very, non-existent. Basically, this to me applied for every single character, but mainly the queen, that is the main character, because somehow we have this queen who wants a new nation in terms of how things are being ran. And from the beginning, the first warning flag I actually got about not being able to get a satisfactory character from this drama was in the beginning. The ministers are having this conversation or this argument or whatever, in the courtroom. They are talking about dethroning the queen. They're talking about getting power. The king has been away for long and whatever. And she walks into this courtroom and everybody kneels. Everybody kneels except these two people, and then she turns to them and she's like, kneel, and they kneel, and it's supposed to be this sort of power move. But then it just does not make sense that eventually, when the king just come back, he walks into the room and nobody kneels, everybody bows, and it just feels like that was when I was like, oh my god, these people actually, they're not going to put in any effort to build up the strength of this character or convince us of it. They are just going to tell us about it and expect us to believe it. Because how do you expect me to believe in this world where it is set in, a way where women truly do not have a say, but somehow, it's acceptable to kneel to the queen, and still acceptable to, in the same breath, not kneel to the king. Kind of feels very, you know very off to me. Okay, and so, riding off of that, like, why was she so invested in wanting a new um nation, in terms of how the common people benefit and stuff? Like, why was that so important to her? They could have shown us, giving us a little bit of her motivation to that. Okay, like, did she grow up really happy and want everybody to experience that same happiness? Did she grow up really happy, experience some injustice? No, it was just the idea that when she was young, rather than doing girly things, she preferred to be training in archery. Let's talk about how this queen in the last episode was like, oh, she cares about the common people, blah blah blah. And then when it comes to like the face off between the two different armies, I was seeing some common people in the front line, like they were there in like just behind the walls, where soldiers, archers usually stand. And then I was seeing some people that dress like commoners with their bows and arrows. And I'm like, Miss Mom, you said you cared about this. So why are you making them fight? I doubt that these people have occupation as soldiers. I doubt that these market men and women know how to use a bow and arrow. Why were they in that scene? And honestly, the way this queen was represented in this drama honestly just felt like, and I'm going to apologize in advance for saying this, but it felt like what I would expect an average um man on Nigerian Twitter, who is always on the, kind of misogynistic side of things, to represent strong women. Okay, in the sense where there is no depth to them, and they're just there to like fulfill their wet dreams of like making power plays, but still kind of like being good in bed, still kind of like being good at chores. So like this queen now, she is, she's a kind and considerate queen to her husband. Obviously they have their, their scenes where they're making out and taking off their clothes, and then we have scenes where she's kind of like, standing in front of these ministers, like all those scenes where it's supposed to feel like she's doing something iconic. The angles were so messed up, it did not even look great and did not really feel iconic. Like, if they were not being overbearing with the instrumentals, it would not even clock to you that the scenes were kind of supposed to be iconic. So it just felt like I said, a wet dream of some random Nigeria. Because I'm talking like, those men, those men that always have something to say whenever they are doing like gender wars on Twitter, which are always very entertaining for me. It just feels like if you give one of them, like, tell them to write what they think a strong woman is like, this is exactly how they would present and portray one. Okay, it's like, they are good in bed, they are good at chores, but then they are also smart enough to discuss politics and discuss stocks and discuss all those rubbish things. They used to say, oh, ask your babe about this and see who you're dating. That's the vibe this character gave off to me, and it truly truly was a very disappointing experience. And yeah, I think, I don't know if I said at the beginning of this drama, but to me this drama truly is proof that, actors really, in the grand scheme of things, are just the frontline sales reps. Like, obviously, if you have a business, I work at a bakery. Yeah, I work at a bakery. And we have people that sell our products and stuff at the front line, and obviously those people, they have work to do in terms of like being pleasant to customers, encouraging customers to buy stuff, and like, just making sure the customers have a good experience overall. But the thing is that if there is no, management line, oh my god, that scared the hell out of me. If there is no management line, no operation line, no production line, to bring about that product, then those people, there is practically nothing they can do. Like, if the bread is not sweet, there is only so much you can make customers come back based off of your good customer service, if that makes any sense, right? So yeah, I just feel like the back end for this drama really just feels like it was very messy, very lazy, not a lot of effort put in, and I'm very disappointed by it. And also, I just want to tack on that we, you know, should not delude ourselves. Okay, like I get when actors you are huge fans of them. Listen, I am the biggest okay fan of Lisa Hyuk. Like that is the only man I have ever had second lead syndrome for, and he was in the wrong. I don't have second lead syndrome for drama men. Like it's not something that exists for me. Okay, but just because it was him, I could not bring myself to not have second lead syndrome. But you see that scene where he killed his wife was something I could not tolerate. We should not like, it's good to be fans of people, but criticizing, something that your fave was in does not mean you are criticizing your fave, honestly. Because a lot of the comments I see defending the explicit scenes and the stuff are like fans of the various actors in this drama and stuff. Like when you eventually check them out, they're fans and stuff. And we cannot let such lackluster representation of a supposedly prominent historical female figure, which even they are already not a lot. And so when we just let things like this pass by because our fave is in it, and we're just giving all sort of silly excuses for such poor representation, and people are not allowed to call such things out, you know it's just very bad. It sets such a bad precedent for any future stories that will be retold. And I just hope that if they ever have to do um a sort of faction story about a prominent female figure in historical times, that maybe they decide to focus less on the bodies of the women and more on their characters as human beings, and probably would also be better if they have a woman as either director or main writer. I'm not talking assistant writer. I'm not talking assistant director. Okay. Um yeah, so those are my thoughts. That is what I have to say concerning this drama. As always, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments if you've watched the drama, if you've not watched the drama, based on what I've said and based on your own thoughts as well. I would just love to hear from you guys, and I'll most definitely see you in my next video. Bye.